Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by two-time national champion and former captain of the Clarkson Golden Knights, Cassidy Vinkle. Welcome to the podcast, Cassidy, and how's everything going?
It's going really great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Now, what have you been up to since this whole coronavirus thing started, and what have you been doing recently since you left Clarkson?
I'm at New England College, and I'm getting my master's here in business. I'm assistant coach for the hockey team here, so this is my second year, and then I'll be graduating in May. So with COVID, I've just been here, and we've been getting on the ice with the team, thankfully, and then we have games coming up this spring, so that's exciting.
Yeah, that's good to hear. How have you been dealing with online classes?
It's been okay. Obviously, a little more trouble than when you're actually in with the teacher, but I think that the school's done a really good job of keeping everyone safe. So I think it's been going really well.
I want to start off, though, this podcast by talking about the beginning of your hockey career. You're from Belleville, Ontario. How did you start playing hockey and falling in love with the sport?
Yes, I'm from Belleville, and both my parents played. My mom played at Queen's University, and my dad always played a high level growing up. So it was never really a moment where I fell in love with the game. It was just not really an option to not play hockey. In my family, my older sister played, so I just got into the sport, and I loved every minute of it. Ever since I first got on the ice, there was really no turning back. I just was always kind of the first one out there and the last one off the ice every practice.
Who was your favorite player growing up, and what part of their game did you admire the most?
Cassie Campbell was definitely my favorite player when I was younger. I remember doing a speech on her in elementary school. I just thought she was so cool. And I was number 7 when I was younger, and then number 77, and that was definitely because of her. I just think that she was just such an icon for not only Canada, but also the whole world and hockey in general. So I just really love to see her play and just see all she did for the sport.
Now, before Clarkson, you played for the Whitby Junior Wolves in the PWHL. How did you get the opportunity to play with that organization?
Playing in Belleville, there wasn't always like it was sometimes A rather than double A, and it wasn't really the best competition sometimes. So I knew if I wanted to advance in my career, it might be better to go to a bigger center and play junior hockey. So when I was in grade 9, I started looking for opportunities there, and I had a couple different teams talking to me, and I knew I would have to go out of my center to play. So I talked to a couple different teams and ended up having a really good connection with Whitby, and they had a really great program there. There was a girl already from Belleville, Hannah Button, playing there. So then I made the decision to go and play with Whitby, and it was a great choice. So then I played 3 years there, and we ended up winning 2 out of the 3 years, the championship. So it was a really great experience in Whitby.
Yeah, you also got to play alongside Clarkson teammate Ryan McGill. What was it like playing with someone that you knew you're going to be going to college with?
Definitely awesome. Ryan and I actually went to Europe together when we were in like grade 6 for a selects tournament. So it's kind of funny that we both ended up playing for Whitby Junior Wolves and then going to Clarkson. I think it was a start of a great friendship, and it also helped going to Clarkson with someone who you're friends with, made it even more exciting and just a bit more comforting too.
Yeah, and you also won a silver medal in the Canada Winter Games. Talk about that experience and what did you take away from it?
The Canada Winter Games was an incredible experience. It was in BC, and honestly, the group of girls we had on Team Ontario was incredible. I think there was 5 of us from that ended up being in my class at Clarkson, and then my other classmate was on Team Alberta. So it was just cool to be there with all these girls who you end up growing with in your future years of college. And it was just a really cool experience. You got treated unreal, and I was unfortunate we didn't win in the gold medal game, but overall it was a great experience. That definitely is a great memory.
Now, how did your experience with the national team and Whitby help prepare you for college hockey?
I think it's a huge transition going from junior to the NCAA level. I think that Whitby did a great job of bringing in really good players, making the practices high level and competitive, and then also being in BC and playing against some of the best players in the country. I think that helped prepare me. But definitely once you get to college, the transition isn't always easy because the game is just at such a faster pace, and also it's just like so much more than just practicing twice a week and having your games on the weekend. It's every day, and it's even more of like the living and breathing hockey.
Yeah, talk about your recruiting process and why did you choose to go to Clarkson?
My recruiting process started pretty early. I had some schools like contacting me in grade 8, which I'm not really sure if that's legal or not with the NCAA rules, but it was really strange and hard because you don't really know anything about it. And so I just had to go to a lot of prospects camps and talk to a lot of people about, SATs, ACTs, a lot of things you don't really think about. And so then I talked to a couple different schools, and I ended up narrowing down and visiting 12 and kind of making my decision from there. Clarkson was actually the first school I visited, and I just kind of fell in love right when I got on campus. It's very homey, and it's a smaller school, great coaches, and so that's kind of what set it apart, I think, was the fact that it wasn't a school with, 100,000 people that kind of had like a big football team that took all the attention, that hockey was a big deal there. So that's kind of what sold Clarkson for me. And I also kind of like that it wasn't, a school who had these huge facilities, like crazy like amounts of money. It kind of was a humbling experience to be able to go somewhere and put in the work and be able to beat those bigger schools.
Yeah, definitely. And what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the mental side of the game, making quicker decisions with the puck, or was it more just the physicality, playing against players that were 4 or 5 years older than you were at the time?
I think it was a bit of adjustment. The speed, it's such a faster game. My freshman year, I'm sure that's what I noticed the most. But then I just kind of did some extra work with coaches, and then the summer after my freshman year, I really got with my trainer and focused on speed, speed, speed. So I think that was kind of the biggest adjustment for me, and that's what I had to work on the most.
Now, in your first year with Clarkson, you lost to Quinnipiac in the ECAC finals. What did you take away from that game that helped you beat the team the next week in the NCAA tournament?
It's definitely hard as a freshman going into these types of games because you don't really know the significance of them. Obviously it's a big game, it's a championship game, you want to win, but it's not until later on in your third and fourth year where you realize that those opportunities sometimes just come once in your career. Like you have to really take advantage of them. So I think playing Quinnipiac, they had a really great team that year. But after losing that championship game, we knew there was no way we're going to let them beat us again in that NCAA quarterfinal game.
Yeah, and you lost to Boston College in the Frozen Four your freshman year. Talk about playing in your first Frozen Four, and what was that experience like for you?
Playing in my first Frozen Four was a great experience. It's kind of overwhelming with all the banquets and the media and everything like that. It's just really exciting and something really cool. It's honestly just an honor to make it to the Frozen Four and something really special to be a part of. Losing was obviously very tough, especially it was in overtime when we were up 2-0 in the game. But again, I think it's different as a freshman. You're obviously upset, but then later on in your career is when you really realize just how special it is and how big of moments those really were.
Yeah, and Boston College, I think, was undefeated that year. What was it
Yeah.
like playing that team?
I think it was obviously a pretty intense. They had a lot of Olympians on the team. So, from someone who had just graduated high school, was just watching the Olympics and cheering for those people. It's kind of surreal in that way to be seeing those girls you're playing against. And to know that they hadn't lost a game all year was kind of crazy. But I think that we had a lot of confidence in our team, and we knew we had a lot of skill and heart. And unfortunately, we just didn't get that last bounce at the end.
Yeah, now obviously your sophomore and junior year, you did win the national championship. At what point during the regular season, in those years, did you realize your team was capable of winning a national championship?
I think in my sophomore year, we saw kind of how close we came the year before, and we knew we had a lot of skill on the team. Our seniors that year had won it their freshman year, so that was kind of their last push for it. I think just the girls we had on that team was a difference maker. There was so much heart, and then I think halfway through the season we're having such a great year. We're getting ranked higher and higher in the national standings, and I think that's when we kind of all looked at each other and was like, we can do this. Like this can be our year. and then making it to the Frozen Four and winning our first ever ECAC championship. All these were just stepping stones, and we knew that these were small goals, but at the end of the day, our goal was to win the national championship.
You won the ECAC hockey tournament that year before heading into the tournament, the national tournament, your sophomore season. What was it like to win your first ever league title, and how did that help your team for heading into the national tournament that season?
It was obviously really exciting. It was against Cornell, I believe, so that was kind of a rival for us that season. So it was really exciting. And again, it was Clarkson's first league championship, so we were all really excited, and that was a big deal. And at Clarkson, though, you're kind of never satisfied with that. Though you're always going for the national championship. So I think that everyone was really happy and excited, but at the same time, we were all just focused, and we knew that we weren't finished yet.
You played Cornell again and then Minnesota in the tournament that year. What challenges did those teams bring, and what did you do to stop them and win those games?
Obviously, Cornell was always a really strong team. I think that that game was a lot of a mental game for us and for them. We had played them so many times that year, and I feel like whoever wins the league championship game, if you play the same team, it's their kind of revenge time. But we were really focused, and we just had pride in ourselves and knew that we could beat them too. And then for Minnesota, obviously Minnesota's a hockey powerhouse at that university, and we knew we just had to stick to our game. We're playing a team that's not an ECAC team, one that we hadn't faced yet, and I think that we just had to be confident in ourselves. And it was a bit of a back and forth game with us scoring a goal and them scoring a goal. I think we just had to stay confident and know that we could do it.
Yeah, and you finally won your first national championship against Wisconsin. Talk about that game and what emotions were you feeling after winning your first national championship?
Honestly, that was probably one of the best days of my life, winning the national championship against Wisconsin. It was good going into, they were number one seed. We were a bit of the underdog. I think everyone was looking that Wisconsin was going to win it. So that was just different than our second national championship because nobody thought Clarkson was going to win. You're playing Wisconsin. They've got all these girls, Team Canada, Team USA girls. And so I think they kind of underestimated us. We came in and we knew we were going to win it. We had all the confidence, and I think that it was just a crazy time for Clarkson University.
Yeah, your teams have been very successful throughout your time in college. What did Clarkson do to maintain that success, and how did you try to block out some of the outside noise and just focus on the task at hand?
I think kind of focusing on excellence every single day, not taking any days off, like just focusing on the small details. If it was a day where we didn't have practice, it'd be all about recovery. If it was a practice where we were kind of slowing things down and just doing some walkthroughs, it was just about focusing and, being excellent through that. It wasn't about all, it was about working hard, but at the same time, when we slow down, it was about just working smart and just kind of pushing every day towards our goals.
Now, you won the ECAC tournament again before the national tournament your junior year. What was different about that ECAC run versus the previous one you had your sophomore year? Because checking the schedule, it looked like you played many different teams that you wouldn't play in the ECAC tournament, like a team like St. Lawrence.
Yeah, that ECAC championship was a bit different. We were playing Colgate in the finals, and we had a bit of a rivalry with Colgate that year, and we ended up playing them again in the national championship game. So I think that rivalry definitely helped us at Clarkson. It just kind of fueled our fire. Sometimes our coaches were gonna kind of have to talk us down, and make sure we're focusing and not letting the heat of the moment get to us. But that was a championship that felt really good to beat them in our home arena with all our fans. And then after that championship, it was a bit different going to the Frozen Four because we were number one seed. So we weren't the underdog anymore. We were kind of number one. So that was just a bit of a different mentality.
Yeah, talk about playing in the Frozen Four, not just on the ice, but off the ice as well, because I've been to one before, and it's pretty cool setup how they do it with the banquet, like you just mentioned, but also just the band and just the whole scenery in general. What's it like being a player in that atmosphere?
It's definitely something like you've never experienced before. Going from sometimes only having, a couple hundred fans at your games to having a sold out crowd. It's really incredible, and being able to play those games, and it's not like a series or anything. So it's just pretty much you win one game and you move on. So I think that's a little bit of pressure, but it's also a little relieving to know that you just have a couple games to win and then you win it all. So it's definitely an amazing experience and one I'm really grateful for, to have at Clarkson and to be able to make it to the Frozen Four. Not just 1 year, but 4 years. It's something that I will cherish forever.
Now you beat Ohio State in the first Frozen Four game, 1-0 in overtime. Talk about that game. What do you remember from it, especially since that was Ohio State's first Frozen Four appearance?
We actually played Cassidy Vinkle, who ended up transferring to Clarkson the next year as our goalie, and I knew her. I played with her in Whitby, so I knew she was going to be tough to beat. Obviously, it was a 1-0 game, but that game I just remember being really intense, and both goalies were kind of standing on their heads. And I think that we knew we could win it. We had just had an overtime game the game before, and so I think we were just kind of on a roll that way, and knew we could do it. And yeah, it was just a great game for us and a great game, I think, for women's hockey, just the atmosphere in the arena.
Yeah, definitely. You played in 3 overtime games in that tournament. How do you mentally stay prepared during those long games, and what's the key for, like, I guess, maintaining, like, mentally focusing when you're so physically tired, I guess?
I think just thinking back to the feelings before, in our previous national championship against Wisconsin, we all knew how that felt to win. So we just had that to keep driving us forward. And then after we had that quarterfinal overtime win against Mercyhurst, I think for the next two overtimes, we were just had the mentality like we've been in the overtimes before. We got this. We just have to stay confident, and this is what we worked for all year. This is what we did the extra conditioning for. This is what we've worked for, so we're prepared for it. I think that's kind of where our confidence came from. Was all the preparation we had been doing all year, and then also the previous years before.
And you won back-to-back national championships, beating Colgate in the final. What emotions were you feeling after that game, and how did it compare to the national championship you won your previous season?
I think the win in overtime, there was definitely a feeling of relief. There was a bit more pressure going into it as first seed, but it was nothing we couldn't handle. And so beating Colgate was just amazing. Again, with all our fans there, all our family, and just being able to share that with my class and the rest of the team is something really special, especially going from losing in overtime that first Frozen Four to winning against Wisconsin, and then that next national championship versus Colgate, going through all that and all the ups and downs we had to go through with the team and the coaches, being able to win and have something to show for it and having all our hard work pay off, it's just something really special to be able to share with those people. And it's kind of a bond that will just connect you for life.
What was your reaction when Elizabeth Shagira got that breakaway goal, and just talk about where you were on the ice at the time?
I was actually on the bench. I just gotten off, and when she scored that goal, it's kind of difficult to explain, I think, for everyone on our team. You're so exhausted. You've just played, 3 or 4 extra periods leading up to this game because of all the overtimes, and for her to score not just a goal but a highlight reel goal, and just be that clutch, it was just amazing. And everybody, of course, jumped off the bench, and there were really no words to describe it. You're trying to, celebrate and stuff, but you're just like almost in shock.
Definitely. Now, in your senior year, you were named captain of the team. What did it feel like to receive that honor, and what type of leadership did you want to bring? Were you more of a vocal leader or lead by example type of player?
Being captain for Clarkson was, I think, my greatest accomplishment to date. It was something I took a lot of pride in, and just looking at the previous captains before me, Shannon McCauley, Kaylee Mercer, Savannah Harmon, I think that made it even more special to know that those girls, I was kind of following in their footsteps. I think for a leader, I'm a bit of a mix of both. I think my hard work is definitely something that's kind of like a role model, follow by example. But then I'm pretty vocal, and I think that's also a way I lead and led the team.
Yeah, what did you learn from those past leaders like Kaylee Mercer and Savannah Harmon that helped your leadership when you were a captain?
I definitely learned a lot from them. It was amazing to see them in the leadership role and being able to excel on the ice and off the ice, and then also do great things once they graduated. So I think what I learned from them was how to maybe handle some difficult situations, and how to keep things positive even if things maybe weren't going our way, and just to keep rolling and kind of try to keep everyone together.
Now, you won the ECAC tournament again for the final time your senior year. What did that league championship mean to you since it was your final one?
I think it was really special. That was one where We weren't actually at home to win that one. It was at Cornell. So obviously not playing in your home arena is a bit tough. And Cornell's got some pretty aggressive fans there. So I think that was a bit of a change of scenery and a little bit of a challenge for us. But it was definitely really exciting to be able to win that one. My senior year with all those girls who we had kind of gone through everything with, and with the coaches too, being able to win that was definitely really special.
In that tournament, you beat Boston College in overtime. Talk about that game and what was it like to head to another Frozen Four for the third time or for the fourth time in your career, and just that feeling, because not a lot of players get to experience that much success throughout their college career. They might just make it to one Frozen Four, but you got to make it to four Frozen Fours throughout your time. Just what emotions were you feeling after that game, and what was your reaction to that, knowing that we're going to make another Frozen Four?
That was definitely a stressful game. We played against Boston College, and as a senior, knowing that that could be your last game, but you don't want it to be, is kind of a hard thing to deal with. And you kind of have to put the emotions aside and just focus on playing hockey. In the first period, they scored kind of a fluky goal, and we're up 1-0 for the majority of the game. But I think, again, just having the confidence in our team and knowing that this wasn't going to be our last game as seniors. So Joe Posibon, one of my best friends, scored in the third, and then once we were heading to overtime, we knew that that we were going to win it. We had been in that situation so many times, and we had so much skill, so much heart on our team that we didn't have a doubt in our minds in that dressing room going into the overtime. Obviously, Boston College was a really skilled team, but I think that we just really came together, and we won it for each other.
Now, you played your final collegiate game against Wisconsin. What emotions were you feeling after that game, knowing that you played your final collegiate game?
It was definitely tough with that loss to Wisconsin at the Frozen Four. But at the same time, after the game, you just kind of have to be proud of your career. And that's kind of what my class and I did. We were obviously really upset. We were going for our third national championship. That was the goal we had in mind. But you just kind of have to look back on the success. I think going into my final Frozen Four, I took a step back and thought, I've won 2 national championships. I've won my league championships. Whatever happens this weekend, I've got a lot to be proud of. And so I think that was kind of our mentality after the game. Was we were obviously really upset, but we just kind of looked to our teammates and knew that we had accomplished a lot, and our coaches and everything. We just had an amazing experience. So I think we were just proud of that, and happy for our accomplishments.
Now, looking back at your Clarkson hockey career, what was your favorite memory with that school, or just in college in general, I guess?
I think the first national championship was definitely my favorite memory. That was just something we had worked so hard for. And, since my freshman year, I remember myself and my roommate just sitting there like we got to win it. Like, I'm not coming here for 4 years because you only have 4 years to do it. I'm not coming here for 4 years and not going out with a national championship. So myself and my roommate, Kelly Mariani, and the rest of our team, we were ready to do whatever it took. We worked really hard every training session, every on-ice session, and we knew exactly what we were building towards.
We're now in the non-hockey segment of the podcast where I ask you some non-hockey questions. My first one is, what music do you like to listen to on a general basis, or what music do you like to listen to before a game?
I'm really open for music. I like everything, like hip hop, country, rap. I'm just kind of open to anything. And then before games, I think I'm more of like a pump up songs kind of person.
Nice. Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve. Um, that's a hard question. Maybe when people chew really loud.
Yeah, I agree. Mine's like slow drivers. That can be annoying just because
Yeah,
you're trying to get somewhere and someone's going like under the speed limit.
yeah, that's true. That drives me crazy.
Definitely, definitely. Now, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
I would go back to my role model from when I was younger and definitely say Cassie Campbell. I think that'd be really cool to kind of talk to her and just let her know about how inspiring she was to me and just kind of get her perspective on everything that she's gone through with hockey.
Nice, nice. Now, speaking of your teammates, who was the funniest teammate you ever played with at Clarkson?
I think that Emma Keenan is definitely the funniest. She was in my class, and we had some really great times together.
Now, you obviously had the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who had the best style that you played with at Clarkson?
The best style. I think Amanda Titus had really good style, definitely on the ice and off the ice.
Nice. Now, going back to some hockey questions. Now, my first one is, what do you think should be done to help grow women's hockey?
I'm currently a member of the PWHPA. I'm on the New Hampshire team for that. So I think that we as a group have really been working hard to grow women's hockey. And it's a group I'm really proud to be a part of. So I think COVID has obviously, hindered that a little bit, but I think we're doing a great job of pushing through and hopefully getting some games and showcases coming up to kind of fight for the growth of women's hockey and for a viable league where women don't have to have a 9 to 5 job and then also try to perform on the ice.
Nice. Now, what could I do better as an interviewer to improve this podcast and make this platform better?
I think you did a great job as an interviewer. Honestly, I don't really think there's anything to improve on. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to give to your family members, friends, or just anyone you know?
I'll give a shout out to the Clarkson Golden Knights this year. Um, I hope that they keep pushing through the season, even though it might be difficult, and just to know that they can do it and they can reach their goals, and even if it's a tough season, just to keep pushing and get better every day.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Cassidy. I really appreciate it. Take care, stay safe, and I wish you all the best in your future. And you're one of my favorite hockey players to watch, and it really meant a lot to me to come on my podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care. Bye.
Bye.